What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Perfect World Masters. This is going to be from the NA Qualifiers. It's Game 2 between Immortals, currently up 1-0 over the Dire, on the Dire. Thank you, Jeebus, for that. I'm Mike Loris, going to be joined by Franz for the second game. Dude, that game was actually really close. Do you think there's anything that Dire can very obviously fix, or do you think it's just going to be a draft-by-draft basis?
I think the first thing they have to address was just the way that the early game went for them. So maybe switch up the heroes they pick as cores, make sure that they're actually able to fight into the aggression of Immortals, because I think one of the hallmarks of the Immortals drafts and the way they play is just that they're super aggressive in the early game. They're constantly looking for these openings in the enemy team where they can capitalize on kills, take a couple of quick towers, and boy, were they quick towers. I mean, they took that bottom tier one in a hurry, and then they took the mid tower with a quick rotation from a couple of the heroes. So, I mean, Dire were playing that game from behind from like minute 2, I would say. So, they pick up a Jakiro, which Immortals had last game. You know, Jakiro's one of the support heroes that's quite good in the early game and quite good at snowballing. So, we'll see if it works out for the PPD team.
10 seconds remaining.
Still quite a few notable, just kind of generico first picks still in the pool. That Necrophos AA doesn't really seem quite Immortals style. Still in if they want it. You know, you're looking at Puck, you're looking at Nature's Prophet. For sure, options here for the Immortals side. With the Jakiro now in the hands of the Dire, Immortals perhaps can't go as aggressive as we saw them in that last game, but still I expect their draft to slant more so on the aggressive side of things. Gonna grab that Lich. I don't know how I forgot to mention Lich there, but he's still in the pool, or was still in the pool, and is a pretty easy first pick here for Immortals. Again, with Lich, it is really usually pretty easy to hide what your plan really is until much later.
Yeah, I mean, none of the heroes selected so far have really given out any concrete information on what either team is doing. The thing I think about Jakiro, though, is Jakiro doesn't play well from behind, especially if he doesn't get his levels. And that just kind of like helps you prevent Jakiro from getting levels. It also helps you prevent one of the lanes on Dire being strong. So when you open with a pair like Lich Puck, I think it pretty much guarantees that you're gonna win at least one lane.
I haven't seen a lane where Lich, you know, is actually in the lane and doesn't move around a lot, and then that lane loses. Like, that just hasn't happened. I have not seen that. You usually have to have like some, either your matchup is like stupidly aggressive against the Lich, or the Lich just makes like one too many mistakes. Like, really weird situations have to occur for that to be the case. But Dire are going to go ahead and second pick the Nyx Assassin with that Jakiro. A generally just overall strong hero, has, you know, certain better or worse matchups. But if you're looking at a 4-position Nyx Assassin, you could very easily go in towards what could be a mid Puck and just start throwing those mana burns in his face. That is incredibly annoying and kind of Night Stalker-esque style from the Nyx Assassin.
I think Lich has 2 glaring weaknesses. The first one is kind of hard to pull off, where you just keep killing him in the lane, or you somehow manage the lane in such a way that you're like pulling every single creep wave, and you're denying EXP from the Lich and his lane partner. But the other way is just to pick heroes that scale well in the early to mid game, so they can kind of make up for that disadvantage from the Lich. So like heroes like Puck, I mean, if they had Puck, because Puck clears waves out really quickly. You know, heroes that just can farm safely, despite being slightly behind, I think are really good against Lich. But PBDs picks up this Nyx, and I think Nyx is one of the hardest counters to Puck, as well as Lich. Just that Carapace is so effective against Puck. You can pretty much guarantee that if the Puck isn't paying attention, the Nyx will pick off the Puck every fight, especially since sort of both of Puck's non-ultimate spells are so easy to chain with Carapace.
5 seconds remaining.
We've seen, like, very frequently Pucks just trying to greed out one more creep wave, just one more. So they throw in the orb and then try to blink away, but spite Carapace, and as you said, it's very easy to land that, and it's almost easy to the point where Pucks have now just, like, against Nyx Assassins, just, they will orb out for that creep wave, still being greedy, but then they'll phase shift, and then just hope that that spite Carapace is going to be returned onto a non-existent hero. It doesn't work all the time, but, you know, that's the kind of type of mind games you got to play. It's the type of timing game you have to play when you're that Nyx Assassin, when you're going up against the Puck, but more often than not, it's going to work out kind of in your favor. Got Life
So
Stealer as well as Monkey King now, and Necrophos Batrider all getting
10
kicked
seconds
out.
remaining.
Theoretically, I think the way to do it is you orb and then you face shift right
5
away, so that if the
seconds
orb
remaining.
hits the next and the next plus carapace,
Dire
then it already
team
takes
pick.
away that damage instance, right? Which frees you up to do your other thing, and also just not casting your spells unless you're certain that you're not gonna get carapace in the face. And PBD, he also bans Monkey King and Life Stealer this game, and I think both of those heroes are good against the two heroes that Dire have selected, and Monkey King seems to work out really well
10
for Immortals. So
seconds remaining.
PBD probably smart in banning out the Monkey King. Immortals, they pick up Bloodseeker.
5 seconds remaining.
Bloodseeker's like the king of snowball lineups, and when you have heroes like Lich and Puck who are so good in the laning phase, it really helps accelerate the Bloodseeker's ability to get a lot done.
It's kind of just right in the play style of the Immortals, kind of preferred play style as well, this Bloodseeker. Being able to, if you need to, go super aggressive, and if you want to hit the brakes, you can farm up that Radiance and take it to a little bit of a later stage. Saw them play with this exact lineup a little while ago in the previous set, so already warmed up on these heroes for sure. Bloodseeker is a hero that you can pressure, especially if you are going to get the lanes right up against that Bloodseeker. Just drop him down to half HP, and the lane just gets so hard for the Bloodseeker to actually stand comfortably there. And now with the Pug to pick, it does seem like that is going to be perfectly viable. Immortals are just going to 5th pick Ember Spirit, and then we'll have the same exact game as before.
Yeah, it's a really similar lineup. I mean, I think Dubu knows exactly what kind of heroes his team wants to play, especially because I don't want to say it's a very specific play style they have, but it's a very game to game it seems pretty consistent, right? And when you have a consistent style of playing the game, you want consistent heroes. So heroes like Lich, Puck, Bloodseeker, Kunkka, they're very good in the early game. They can make a lot happen, and these heroes also make really effective rotations, right? Kunkka's really good at picking off heroes from the 5-minute mark. Puck and Lich do tons of magic damage in team fights, and Bloodseekers, the turbo that just goes in and cleans up. So PBD's got to be a little bit careful with his 4th pick here, making sure that his team's actually able to fight into the Immortals lineup after the laning phase.
Maybe PPD gonna try to emulate a little bit of the Immortals style and the Immortal type heroes with the Pug Ninja hero. We're getting a couple of shades of game 1 that Immortals played. Super aggressive versus those towers. I don't expect it to be as aggressive consistently, as they will slow this draft down a little bit with the Phantom Lancer. Immortals don't really have the most reliable means of actually killing off this Phantom Lancer. Like, yeah, it will be possible for sure, but Kunkka, he's usually just going to have initiation in the bag every single time. Up against PL, it is not going to be the case. You could fight the Bloodseeker if you get ruptured and have a decent shot at least doing a little bit of damage in response. So I do like this PL quite a bit. I mean, you will be able to push down at least a couple of tier 1 towers, and that's a lot of space for someone like PL.
I think there's 3 important things to PL. First of all is obviously, we all know PL is like the mid-late game annoying illusion hero, and Immortals don't exactly have they have AoE, but they don't have enough, in my opinion, especially against the late game Phantom Lancer. And the second important thing about Phantom Lancer is he's really strong at level 7. Like, this hero wants to fight, or at least wants to pressure the enemy team from the level 7 point onwards, just because his lance does so much damage. He's impossible to kill, and PL as a hero doesn't like flash farm, so he wants his team to have as big of an advantage as possible coming out of the laning phase. And the third thing I kind of mentioned before is he's unkillable, so the enemy team sort of has to pool a lot of resources in order to kill the PL, and whenever you have a hero like that on your team, it makes the enemy's movements a lot more predictable, because hey, if Immortals have 3 heroes missing off the map, PL just backs off. Whereas in a different kind of game where Immortals have like maybe heroes that are much better at picking up PL, then there's more kill potential on the PL. It's harder to notice, but certainly this game, whoever plays this Phantom Lancer doesn't have as much to be afraid of in the early game.
So from your Immortals, how do you actually answer this then? Because, I mean, they have Puck, seen him go towards mid and towards off lane. Bloodseeker's done pretty much all the lanes as well. So you got a lot of variability in where you could actually lane these heroes. Is there an easy pick they can grab to kind of counter this Phantom Lancer? They need more initiation, or just a more aggressive play style in order to prevent him from getting space?
The thing is, heroes that generally have cleaving abilities are good against Phantom Lancers, so like Span, maybe even anti-mage actually. But there is the threat of next to Hero Pugna who are very good at kiting, melee physical cleaving heroes. Perhaps the best team, perhaps the best hero for Immortals is actually was the Sven, but that gets banned, and then maybe like an anti-mage, but that might slow down the gameplay of Immortals too much. So seems like PPD's got a really fast-paced lineup this game, right? I mean, compared to last game, all 5 of these heroes are sort of willing and capable of fighting from the 5-minute mark. So a much different pace coming out from the PPD draft this game, but we'll see how Immortals actually respond.
The only, I would say, real kind of weakness here from the Dire is that starting fights is not going to be incredibly easy from their point of view. The Nyx Assassin, Faceless Void. Interesting. The Nyx Assassin is really the best chance they have of starting those, kind of later game team fights. And, once detection comes on the board, it becomes a lot more difficult to actually make that happen. So forcing objectives, forcing fights for TD might be a little bit of a difficulty. But Immortals grabbed the Faceless Void now, who is going to have that, kind of non-negotiable spell of that Chronosphere. The problem is that, that we don't have many easy follow-ups. Like, Boat is great, Chain Frost is very, very iffy, and with this fast pace of draft from the Dire, I'm not sure if Faceless Void is really going to be able to get enough farm to be effective.
I mean, you just listed 2 excellent follow-ups for the Chrono. I mean, Chain Frost and Boat, they normally aren't easy to land, right? But when you have a Chrono, it's very kind of clear-cut. Hey, do I Chain Frost the Chronosphere? Do I Chain Frost out of it? And do I Boat into the thing? And then, like, Puck also has 2 spells that go into it, right? But I think with this Void pick, if anything, it's Immortals saying, instead of dealing with the Phantom Lancer in the late game or sort of like trying to out-farm the Dire lineup, we're just going to fight into them. We're going to try to shut them down early or try to get an advantage early and then hope that we can actually hit our timing, hit our stride so that we can end the game before this Phantom Lancer becomes an issue. Because, the counter to any late game hero is either you try to out-carry them or you try to shut them down early. And so I think Immortals are going in full Immortals fashion, focusing on the early game, going to try to use this Void to get some key pickoffs and secure some key map control. So we'll see how it goes for both teams. But this time, I think, compared to game 1, definitely PPD's lineup is much better in the early game compared to last game.
I'd say that's pretty fair to say. You also got to keep in mind that, like, with such an aggressive style coming out from the Dire, the fact that they're also going up against a Lich is somewhat of a concern. You're going to be not quite as strong as you would really like to be. You got to fight up against that ice armor. For a hero like Phantom Lancer, that's a serious concern. And obviously, the Pugna doesn't really care about that at all. But
it kills a diffusal buyer, so makes him okay against Frost. I mean, no one ever wants to fight against Frost. That spell's just way too good. But at least they have solutions for it. So the thing is, you mentioned it earlier, like the pickoff and the teamfight initiation is not strong from the Dire. So if for some reason the Dire fall behind, it might be a little bit difficult for them to go for pickoff, since the only hero that can make that happen is Misery on the Nyx. So Immortals can sort of play around that. Usually you want at least 2 heroes that can set up kills for you, so it's less obvious. But at the same time, Immortals, they have to commit a lot to get their kills in teamfights as well, right? Pretty much all of their ultimates have at least a minute of cooldown, so that does make the Dire a lot better in these drawn out engagements. I mean, the nature of Phantom Lancer as a hero is he wants the fights to be sort of medium length so that he can get more illusions, get more damage out of his diffusal illusion. We'll see how this early game goes. And I mean, CCNC's playing the Jakiro. I'm not sure if I've seen him play this hero before, but we'll see if he's capable of it. Especially against the dual lane like Bloodseeker. Okay, I mean, this can't be fun. This can't be a fun lane.
I mean, it's the fact that it is CCNC playing a hero that he may not play often is one thing, but it's also a fact that we don't really see that many core Jakiros, and we may just see why, because immediately he's going to get aggressed upon, and he'll be able to return fire somewhat with the dual breath. The fact that you get extra experience is certainly fantastic on a hero like Jakiro, and you'll be able to kind of control Kyo's creep kills. But over in the bottom lane, Faceless Void already time walked, and he's completely surrounded. He'll try to get into the trees, juke a little bit, but the body block from Misery will still get first blood here for the Dire side onto MP. So yeah, it seems like this Jakiro, you know, even though he may be aggressed upon, he may not have the most dominant of mid lanes. The fact that they could still go aggressive on this Faceless Void is gonna mean that for the Dire, they're still in a pretty good spot.
To be honest, it's kind of an inconsequential first blood. I mean, it helps PvD with the gold a lot, but I think this lane for the Dire is going to be hurting in general, just because they have a dual lane versus dual lane, and Immortals have the advantage of Lich. So I think Pycat's going to be really hurting on the levels of this game. You can see he's still level 1.
Though QO is
Mid
actually
lane.
going to dive straight in towards CCNC. Takes a lot of dots here, and he will sneak in the last hit. I don't know how he got vision from that. We'll try to salve up. Misery's going to teleport in, but he's just short on the Impale, which otherwise would have killed off QO, so the dive goes unpunished. He's still going to get this full creep wave, and Jakiro is still going to get his own creep wave as well, CCNC, but man, I didn't expect this lane to be like that for CCNC. I thought he would be, you know, unable to dislodge the Bloodseeker, but to be able to dislodge the Jakiro the other way around, that is certainly a display of power. And maybe really quickly we should look at this top lane where it's going to be Forev as the puck going up against Zai's Pugna. I don't really expect anyone's going to die up here. Maybe the Pugna if he gets really stupid, but I doubt that's going to happen.
And this is not an easy lane for Jakiro. Usually against Bloodseeker, you want heroes like Queen of Pain or Puck that have good last hitting ability to prevent Bloodseeker from last hitting, and then good nuke ability to sort of keep Bloodseeker at an uncomfortable level of HP. And actually CCC was a little bit unlucky there because the Thirst was giving vision. I don't think it was a correct decision to juke to the side because the Bloodthirst. So that's a quick kill. And in the bottom lane, actually, Dubu's in a bit of trouble.
Chain stun is there, but the Torrent will kind of break that all up. Pycat does have just enough mana to doppelgang out, but he's going to get pulled right back in. He maybe didn't expect the level 2 to be up on Kunkka. It was just picked up. Misery's going to land a 3-man Ravage, though. Lets them take out Dubu, and they actually kill him before the Nova is cast. He was dead mid-animation. MP just doesn't do enough damage to get the kill on Pycat, and trade hits afterwards, but that was some additional rotation there from Misery, and I guess support credits PPD as well. This Aura on the Crystal Maiden is going to be doing some serious work for, well, everyone on the Dire side.
This Bloodseeker's actually got so much speed right now because the 3 heroes on the Dire are quite low health. But, minor setback for CCNC. This lane is kind of tough for CC. I mean, I keep going on about how tough this lane is, but it really is because as soon as the Bloodseeker hits level 6, Jakiro doesn't have any mechanics other than TPing out to deal with that. So we'll see if that becomes kind of like a deadly threat for the Dire, especially if MVP rotate in a hero like Kunkka. You know, the Dire, they're doing a good job of getting kills here and there on the bottom lane, but I actually don't think it's enough. I mean, the thing Phantom Lancer as a hero needs the most is he needs, after we see Kunkka in the bottom river.
There's 43 base damage on the Crystal Maiden, and they will find Febby with the Lance, but he had the ice armor on for pretty much the entire time. He still has it. They're chasing, they're trying. There is another Impale here, and they will place an Obs, and the Impale will just barely land. Febby will go down. Forev, though, is here with a very fast Bloodseeker. He's going to look to get 2 for the team instead of just 1. PPD in the corner. Oh, it just doesn't seem fair being a CM up against a Bloodseeker like that with the movement speed. Forev still chasing after Misery in the meantime. Looks like Dubu should cut him off. Impale, yep, Dubu says no more fun. Forev is actually leaving. Okay, they'll get the kill because Misery was dead anyway. That was a little bit awkward, but yeah, you can't really afford chases to go on for that long when there's a Bloodseeker on the field. And as you said, Bloodseeker is gonna hit that level 6 mark pretty rapidly. No way for the Dire to really stop him at this point.
Yeah, I think we'll probably see a cool rotation, especially mid 3 heroes coming out from the Dire. Should be able to catch this Bloodseeker here.
Impale, he's gonna ditch the Rupture on CCNC, which will do like 50 damage.
Yeah, and the Dire will get a little bit of tower damage here, but and yeah, I gotta keep going back to this. Like the Phantom Lancer is only level 3, so similar to last game, I think Pycat's really hurt in the early game. He's not gonna be able to get as much done as he can, so that means that the other 4 heroes on his team have to make space for him, right? Because instead of PL being this really dominant force in the early game, he's sort of stuck farming for a little bit longer, and Kyo TP's back mid. I think they're gonna try to go for a kill on CCNC here.
Jakiro does not have Doppelgang, so he can't dodge the Torrent combo, but they do land the Macropyre, do a lot of damage to the Bloodseeker with Zai's rotation, and Blast will not kill just yet, but with a couple more seconds of dot, they will kill off Kyo in the end. Nova Inc. 2 maybe looking for more. Zai has just enough mana for another Decrep Blast, and with the spike to land from the Nyx Assassin, they'll get another. TP's coming in from Forev, it's a level 5 puck. Certainly a threat, but if he had a coil there, could have actually made something happen, which is not there. But he's gonna aggro Prowlers! Oh no, Zai! His nightmare is real, and Zai will go Decrepified, start draining onto Dubu. The Nova won't do enough. Forev is actually completely out of mana, and Dubu will just get drained out. Pugna now at full HP. Where's the X from Febby? He didn't have vision, I think, as Forev abandoned the chase and is looking for Misery instead. Won't get him, or will he? Orb through, needs like 2 or 3 right clicks. PPD is going to come with a haste rune and protect his Nyx. That's, yeah, that's Prowlers in a nutshell right there, and that's Pugna in a nutshell right there.
Yeah, so I mean, at this point, the Dire are completely outplaying Immortals. I think, sensing both the Bloodseeker hitting level 6, so like, I think QO was a little bit overconfident staying in the lane, and then he wanted to TP in and go for a kill on CCNC, but Zai and Misery with the rotations and counter-initiating on all of that, sort of predicting all of Immortals' movements. I mean, Immortals are sort of known for this aggressive style, and they're being punished for it. It'll be interesting to see what kind of movement Immortals go for next. It certainly feels like they're playing slightly from behind now, especially with the way that these early engagements have gone.
Immortals are going to look to keep up the pressure, at least versus this Phantom Lancer, as Dubu is going to leave that mid and bottom half of the map to their own devices and just follow that Phantom Lancer. You mentioned keep him at that low level and just kind of apply maximum pressure as far as that's concerned. Oh, they'll lose the Kunkka in the meantime. MP picking a fight with this Pugna is doing quite a bit of damage as CCNC is also killing off Q in the meantime. The Chronosphere is going to drop on bottom lane, but he's decrepified. So MP can't really do anything with that. Still, it's just praying for those bashes. Zai has another life drain right about now. Blast can land onto MP. And the drain, I don't think at this point it's going to work. Oh, it will if he decrepifies himself. MP's going to break it with a time walk. Another blast, and MP has to give up the chase. Oh man, I chose the wrong lane to watch. They set up for another kill on QO's Bloodseeker. He hit the level 6, but he's still level 6 after ditching 2 ruptures. Has gotten absolutely nothing.
I mean, Zai's just styling on MP and Febby right now. Actually, we might see another rotation here. Nyx is sitting in the back. Don't think they'll make a kill happen, but oh, actually, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Forgot about the decrepify spell apparently.
I always am just constantly surprised by how much damage a decrepify blast does. It feels like it shouldn't do as much as it does, but man, it's an effective killing tool. Let's just say that. So Pugna now on top of the net worth chart. CCNC, after getting a couple of helpful rotations from his allies, is sitting in second place above the Bloodseeker. 3 kills to his name. Tower damage on mid lane starting to stack up with maxed out Liquid Fire now. So this Jakiro is going to certainly be a force. It is, of course, if the Dire can keep this aggressive playstyle up, and it looks like they'll try to. Setting up Febby over in this mid lane. Can't miss the Impale with the Frostbite, and he will die to someone.
So here's when I think that the Phantom Lancer lineup works really well, right? Because now you have the Phantom Lancer farming while his other 2 cores are doing extremely well. PL himself is a really unkillable hero, especially since Immortals have to dedicate so much. So the Dire will constantly get more out of the map at the moment, especially with Zai doing so much work on his Pugna, mid tier 1 going down. Immortals, if you're Dubu, you're asking yourself, hey, how do we get level 6 on the Kunkka and the Lich, and then what is our opening, right? Like, when can we actually start making moves? Where do we make them? Because at the moment, it seems like the Dire have the upper hand on all parts of the map. And so
even
they have to,
going into a Lich also, it's like so much more difficult to make this playstyle happen, but they're still doing it just by sheer outplays.
Yeah, Immortal, I mean, the Dire, total read on Immortals movements, especially revolving around the Bloodseeker.
No Chronosphere, the hero Pugna, top lane only though. Burst is enough. With the coil, they will kill him off, and a 4 kill from Zai. Impale will be thrown in towards the Lich, but now he has Chain Frost. Misery, though, is going to scurry away in the invis. They set up for the boat and the pullback over the orb as well. Yeah, I'm not really sure if the CM deserves that, but she is certainly dead. And they also do catch wind of Misery, though the X isn't quite high enough level to catch onto that bug. It takes a 5-man, or a 4-man rotation, I suppose, from Immortals, but killing off a Pugna, ending that 4-kill, for sure is worth it. And look at a tower as well.
It's also a very minor victory for Immortals. They also get a tier 1, which is important for them because they need as much map control back as possible. The question is, like, they have to keep making stuff like this happen, and they're kind of reliant on cooldown. So as long as they keep their vision pretty good on the map and keep themselves in a good position, then I think Immortals are more than capable of coming back to the game. The problem is that the Dire, their lineup is really good at sort of squeezing an advantage like this, especially when you have a hero, when you have 2 heroes, Pugna and Jakiro, pressuring different parts of the map. The only problem is I feel like these 2 heroes might fall off if Immortals start regaining a lead.
For sure, Jakiro has to worry about that a lot. We used to see mid-Jakiro occasionally back in the day, and it would go in pretty much this fashion. Like, you would get a ton of action in the early stages, and you'd take down all the towers, but if you fail to push up the high ground, you just run out of gas, and well, the Bloodseeker is going to get found out. That's a good way to keep yourself in the driver's seat, just picking off Kyo in the middle of nowhere. But yeah, they have to make sure that they get this advantage and keep this advantage and push it to a win. Because if you sit back and just try to farm at any point really for the Dire, yeah, Pycat is gonna get a little bit further ahead, but the Jakiro will, even if he gets items, just not have the same impact that he is having right now. So I just want to see this constant aggressive style from the Dire. They will walk right by Dubu, or at least Misery will. They have to deal with this top lane, kind of. Pycat's not having the safest farm time, but it doesn't seem like that really matters right now. He's still getting enough farm, and his allies are really picking up the slack.
The cool thing is that Dire's lineup is extremely well configured to slow siege towers. You got Liquid Fire, you got Nether Blast, and because Immortals, they're sort of cooldown dependent to defend their towers. If Dire get like an Aegis or Cheese or both, they'll be in a really good position to push, just because when you have 2 lives, you're not as worried about the Chronosphere.
We also
so
have,
I think for now,
look at this Pugna, 2 Nether Ward with the 2 Decrepify. This is saying to me that they actually want to start that siege right about now.
Yeah. I think for now, you know, Dire, they're actually just comfortable farming. They need a lot more from an APL. That early game stage has already passed, and he's sort of still underleveled and still underfarmed. I think he can't really, Phantom Lancer doesn't really want to fight until you have at least a Fusel. Actually, they might catch Zai up here.
Well, he will get the life drain out early. That means he doesn't have it right now for the real damage that comes in. I mean, he was pretty screwed there. 4 heroes again rotating up towards the top lane, but they do take down Zai. It's not nothing. That kill is worth quite a bit for the Immortal side, and also buying a little bit of space for Qo, who takes, you know, probably 1 or 2 more deaths than he would really like. Now finally has that Hand of Midas, but for sure is a Bloodseeker that, though net worth-wise is still doing pretty well, is not really where he wants to be.
I mean, he's not, but also it's not easy for him to fight into the enemy team, so I kind of understand why he's sort of just been in the jungle for a really long time. And actually that pickoff might be really big for Immortals because they didn't have to expand Chronosphere, which means they can make another quick movement. And I think like it's better if Immortals make their moves sooner than later, just because their heals, their cores, Void and Bloodseeker, they don't scale through farming, they scale through fighting. So actually the Dire are also smoked up. Might be able to find MP up here.
Febby is going to reveal Zai, and MP will be jumped first of all. Febby can't really save him. Will throw in the boat. MP will get the time walk, heals himself a lot, turns around with their Chronosphere, but there's really no damage here. Where's that Chain Frost? Now what's going to be thrown in? Will bounce like 1 time, and it will be aggro. A lot of aggro onto PPD, but that's going to expend the coil. Macropyre with the Veil doing a lot of damage from this Jakiro, as Zai as well is going to start blasting fools. Will take down the Kunkka. Off to the side, it's Qo. He's being chased down by Pycat, and it looks like he should be going down as well. Is actually getting a little bit of help back from those creeps that he's able to kill off, but I don't really see this Bloodseeker getting out, although with the Fog of War, maybe. He doesn't have a TP, so I don't really know how he's going to get out of here, but they do walk out with MP as well, but ultimately, it's a 3-for-1 exchange, losing only the CM. How is Qo still alive? Seriously. He's running around in circles, is at 1 hit away from death. There it is.
So a really good fight from the Dire there. I think they sort of forced the Chrono to be used in a weird position, right? Ideally for Immortals, in order for their team fight to work, that Chronosphere has to take out at least one hero, if not two.
The X mark is going to be used on the Pugna, but the backup is a little bit too late there from Zai. Misery going to push forward now. They also have a good angle on Dubu, at least PPD does, from the side. The CM has found another haste rune, and is just going to ensure that they take Dubu down safely. The Shark is not going to help out. Constantly bleeding out with these heroes, Immortals, and it does seem like that this aggressive draft of the Dire really starting to kick into full gear here. Yule's level 2 Macro Pyre with the Veil. It's not the easiest thing to do is keep enemies in that line, but if you are able to just leave them in there for a couple seconds, my god, that does a lot of damage.
And the Dire continuing to press their advantage. They lead up to an almost 7k net worth lead, so they're sitting in a comfortable position. The PL is sort of in a position to farm now as well, which is important for him since PL needs all the farm he can get to sort of out-carry this Bloodseeker and Void. The problem is Immortals aren't quite out of the game yet, right? Their teamfight is more than capable of taking out the Dire lineup. They just have to be able to land it in the right sequence.
We need that miracle team fight of that Chain Frost in the Chronosphere. If they had it when they dropped the Chronosphere, I mean, that would have been a clean sweep for the Immortals, I want to say. Just everyone would have died, and the Dire probably wouldn't have even continued that fight, but just the fact that MP was caught in that angle, at that position, with no help in the area is pretty much what the Dire have to continue doing, and again, that's going to be much, much harder to do consistently as this game moves forward, because the Nyx Assassin is, again, the only hero that can really perform that role. Maybe a Stray Ice Path or something like that, or a Diffusal Blade once it's up on the Phantom Lance. If he runs into someone, he can keep them locked down for long enough, but starting engagements in favor of the Dire, not super easy to do, so they got to make sure that they leverage every single time they actually get it into some sort of advantage. Towers, just farm in general, map control, it's all good for them. MP, though, is going to grab an Invis rune. Has a Dire Sentry in the area to worry about, and he's going to be spotted. The neutrals do see him.
Yeah. Actually, in mid, there might be a catch on Dubu.
Misery with Vendetta. Oh my god, he almost solo killed that Lich. Yeah, I mean, level 9
Mana
Lich.
Burn spell does a lot of damage apparently to intelligence shields, but I think the important thing for Immortals is they're actually still keeping up on farm on their cores. In the last minute after that team fight, the Dire haven't really done anything to shut down the Puck Void or Bloodseeker, but they wouldn't even catch Forever here, right? So this Puck's been doing a good job of keeping the bottom lane out, Bloodseeker's been doing a good job of staying in the top half of the map, so it's not like the Dire have had any easy movements to make on these heroes, especially since Immortals have sort of kept their ward vision on the top of the map.
Items we have coming up for this Bloodseeker. BKB in the works for him is not too far away. MP as well working on his item. It's going to be a Shadow Blade for this Faceless Void. He had a Blink Dagger queued up earlier in the quick buy, but this definitely is a little bit more aggressive as far as actually doing damage is concerned. The ability for Immortals to get catch on the Dire, not something that we've really seen them explore just yet, simply because they haven't been in a position to do that, but for sure between a Shadow Blade on a hero like Faceless Void, the Puck, the Rupture, like the X marks, they have all the tools that they could really want if they ever get into a position to want it, and I'm not really sure if they're there yet. I'm not even sure if this Shadow Blade is going to give them enough power to look for those team fights, despite having now a level 2 Chronosphere.
Here's how I think the team fight works for Immortals. We're on the subject of team fighting. So, Bloodseeker, perfect, we have a pause. So Bloodseeker is getting close to BKB, right? And pretty much he's completely uncontested doing this BKB. He can hit everyone except like Compugnant to Groupify or like the Phantom Lancer, but like pretty much free reign in fights with that BKB. And with that Shadow Blade on MP, it really just guarantees that, or not really guarantees, but increases the chances that MP gets a good Chronosphere, which is entirely necessary because some of the heroes on the Dire are really squishy, right? So if you get a key Chronosphere on, say, the Pugna, which I think is the most important hero for MP to Chronosphere, then suddenly you can start throwing your nuke damage, burst down Zai at the start of the fight, and then suddenly a lot of Dire's damage potential gets thrown out of the fight. So You know, even though Immortals are down 6k net worth, I think they can still come back through team fighting and through continuing to farm on their cores, because it's not like the Dire have really been able to push this advantage any further. The heroes don't farm extremely quickly. They're not like Svens or anti-mages or alchemists, right? Like Pugna, Jakiro, PL, they're pretty good, but they don't get more farm than, like, their farm is limited by the amount of camps and the amount of lanes they can actually access. So it's not like this lead is gonna progress any further if the game keeps going the way it's going in the last minute, which is like pretty stagnant. I mean, there's pickoffs here and there, but there's no really big macro plays happening.
Well, picking off this Lich, keeping him poor, obviously pretty easy at this point for the Dire. And keeping these supports poor, of course, is going to start affecting the Immortals' vision. They're obviously going to have gold for observers, but enough gold for sentries to make sure that this Nyx Assassin doesn't get every single Vendetta kill off with now maxed out mana burn. I mean, for sure, Dubu needs to be careful about that. Puck as well. A lot of intelligence on those heroes, so the mana burn does quite a bit. This is just constant drain on this economy from these supports who, at this point, are very easily on the bottom of the net worth chart, at least the Lich is. So he hasn't had a chance to get, it seems like, a single Chronosphere off, like Chain Frost rather. He used once on this top lane and it bounced once. It didn't really do a lot of damage. If you're not getting a little bit of action here as the Lich, you're poor, you're going to stay poor. And the Kunk has a slightly easier time, but it seems like he's going to have to just pick up the slack with all the detection. The Nyx Assassin, I said earlier, it's like hard to keep initiating as far as large-scale fights are concerned, but it gets pretty easy if the enemies can't afford detection.
So wait, I think the game plan for the Dire are going to pull them in. So first of all, either figure out that this Void has a Shadow Blade, which should be pretty obvious because the amulet's in the Void, so maybe you want to buy more sentries, maybe you want to pick up more gems. Make sure that that Void can't get the initiation on the next team fight, because if the Chronosphere whiffs, I think the Dire win the team fight by default. So if they win the next team fight, they can pick up a gem, they can get Roshan, and then they can be in a position to actually siege the rest of the tier 2s and the rest of the tier 3s. And actually, they're taking a lot of damage up here.
Chronosphere onto 3, and no Chain Frost. There is a Puck with a coil here onto 2 that will keep them in the area. Silence onto the Pugna as well, and they take down Zai first, as well as that Nether Ward. Can they get anyone else? Misery does not have a Vendetta, nor does he have a TP. It's still in his backpack, as Ferev's going to try to chase down this dragon. QO is kind of getting body blocked by his creep, but lands the Rupture, which should guarantee the kill, especially with the X mark back. He's just going to straight die to that Rupture. And CCNC will back off. He will be successful in that. But that's the threat, right? That's what you're talking about. That's just how possible it is for Immortals to take a team fight. All you need is a really good Chronosphere that, hopefully for their case, won't whiff. And they also need to deal with Pycat in the bottom lane, but that's just a small taste of what Immortals can still do despite being still 5k behind.
Yeah. I mean, they're still fine. They just need to, prevent that from happening, make sure they still continue to get farm on the heroes, because if this PO gets out of control, it's really hard for Immortals to deal with it. The problem is, I think Immortals are in a position to come back, even though they're 5k network behind. I feel like a lot of that network disadvantage is coming from the fact that Dubu's 1.5k net worth, so that accounts for almost 2.5k of the deficit, and also the fact that this Void isn't, the safe lane Void isn't as farmed as he would like to be. So I'm pretty sure we can just ignore this net worth deficit from them and just concentrate on whoever wins the next team fight is going to be truly in the driver's seat of this game.
Maybe killing off Ace's Void is a good way to start. They will absolutely tear him to shreds. That's a Rod of Atos, a level 2 drain on the Pugna at this point, and of course Misery has been sniping everyone with that Impale. I don't think he's missed a single time, so pre-nerf Impale from the Nyx Assassin, pretty good. Now setting up on bottom lane, which already has been pushed quite a bit. Not too much tower damage, because it's mostly been Phantom Lancer pushing it, but with Zai setting up, with CCNC rotating in, Ferev is gonna, oh my god, destroy his health pool. Fighting into that Nether Ward. He will be fine, but this tower might not be fine. Although CCNC kind of botches Liquid Fire there.
I think Immortals are just gonna wait for the Void to come back. The Void will have Chronosphere when he's alive, so Dire have to be a little bit careful here. Actually, so does Puck.
Blink out before he can get stunned, and CCNC, he gets caught, though he does have a Yules. We'll be fine. Boat will give them a little bit of rum. MP gonna look to go in with the Chronosphere, but ends up getting caught with the Ice Path. Still Zai is separated. Oh, and the Chronosphere still lands onto 3 heroes. Where's that Chain Frost from Dubu? We actually already used it, so there's not much damage here. They'll try to focus down into PPD, and they will be able to take him down. Now looking towards Misery with the right clicks. They'll nail him to the floor as well, making it a clean sweep for Immortals. Dubu lives at 30 HP. They're looking for more, actually, as Forev in front of CCNC is going to lift him up with the Yule Scepter, but will get lifted up himself. And MP, he's slowly approaching. He does not hit him in time, so he does get the free blink out of there. But for Immortals, they hold the line pretty darn well, but that is, of course, a fight where Pycat's not involved. He was pushing top lane and farming the entire time.
Yeah, he was farming, and also that was a really good job by Immortals to catch the heroes they did there. And Chronosphere was also pretty huge, hit landing on 3 heroes, right? But I think, if anything, the Dire, they have the tier 3 now, so they can start sieging shrines, which might put them in a little bit of a better map control situation. But, you know, Immortals, they're crawling their way back into this game. Void starting to pick up some net worth, working on a Maelstrom next just to help his damage and help his farm speed. But, you know, the Dire still at a slight advantage, looking for a pickoff now with the next Assassin. I think the easiest hero for them to kill is the Void, just because Void's sort of in a weird position, and I believe Misery might scout him up. Nope, the Shadow Blade goes off, so...
We'll just pass right through each other. Misery is going to have his Vendetta for a little bit longer, but MP does end up seeing everything. They also see MP lands a big time dilation, 3-man coil, right in the middle of everything as well, but Zion on the high ground is going to drain out Febby. Here comes Kuo, though. He's pretty darn fast, and he's going to leave PPD alive just to get that move speed to chase down for the Pugna, looking for Misery as well. Impales, once again, going to slow them down, but is not going to save him. Pycat's in the mix, and he is going to do quite a bit of damage. AoE concerns right now as the Phantom Lancer is just doing all the damage in the world. Another Ice Path to set up onto Kuo, and eventually, they will be able to take him down. Double kill for the Jakiro. Pycat, CCNC, they can't really push any further here. But now the Phantom Lancer, I think for the first time in this game, is actually going to show up to the fight. And they'll feel pretty comfortable, but maybe they shouldn't, because the Faceless Void, he's actually got another Chronosphere up with that Maelstrom, so he can just do a lot of damage himself. They lift up the Jakiro. He's going to lift up himself one more time. He'll land into a Chronosphere as Forev is going to jump out of there. CCNC maybe sneaks in a right click for the tower. No. Pycat will just turn around and start shredding that puck. MP is here with the Maelstrom, but is going to run out of mana before he can actually catch up. So ultimately, the tower is going to be held / denied for Immortals, and numerically, it is going to be a 1-kill advantage there for the Immortal side.
And you know, Immortals, they get that Shakiro kill on Void, which ended up being a lot. I mean, it was a 7x kill streak. Void nets about 900 gold from that, so pretty good. Pretty big gold swing for him. I mean, he's back in the, or he's in the 5-digit mark in the net worth, and 4th highest, almost very close to actually everyone else. The top 4 of the net worth pack, only within 1,000 of each other approximately. So, Immortals in a much better position than they were a couple of minutes ago, with some pretty good team fights. And you know, Kyo's starting to work on a Radiance on Bloodseeker, which, I mean, normally it's a really good item on Bloodseeker to begin with, but it's doubly good because of the Phantom Lancer on the enemy team. Whenever you have a Radiance against Phantom Lancer, it makes the illusions miss, which means statistically there's like fewer illusions being spawned, but also the illusions get hurt, and the real hero gets hurt, which means that any illusions that continue to spawn are lower HP than they would be normally.
Keep your mana pools slightly more intact. They will see Misery come in, but PPD, he's going to reveal himself first. He gets 4-staffed out with Rupture. I'm not sure if that's the play. That pretty much just secures his death. Misery, though, is still vendetted with CCNC jumping forward. Dubu is, like, disconnected or something. He is... Oh, that's not good.
Interesting.
NA internet, lol? Well, I mean, at least we know that that wasn't an intentional move there by Dubu, right?
I don't know what to say here. I mean, Immortals, they're in a little bit of trouble. The good news, though, is I think they would have lost Seeker anyway, even if this disconnect didn't occur. Forev hopefully can get away from this. I don't think there's anything that the Dire can really do to catch Forev, so he's going to keep the gem, and that gem's super important, right? The enemy has a Nyx, so I don't think the outcome of this exchange changed because of this disconnect. That's what I want to say anyway.
it doesn't seem like that was incredibly likely. I mean, the BKB was already used in the Bloodseeker to kill off the Maiden, so if he still had it, then I would say, a coin flip, because he's, actively being impaled right now. Otherwise, probably could have gotten some sort of BKB dodge. Yeah, go.
Right.
Easy game.
What are the rules for this? Well, what if there's actually rules for the pause, and then like 2-minute max pause, but then Immortals don't come at? I'm just joking.
I mean, there are. I would assume there are, but this tournament just started today, so I don't actually know what they are.
I feel like there's a special scenario when the entire team connects, but
maybe
I could be wrong. But
we're just in the lobby casting, guys. We're not required to read the rule book. I'm sure you could find the rule book somewhere, if there is a rule book.
I'm sure that PPD and his team will just wait for this anyway. I mean, it's hard to know. It could be an internet issue, could be electrical, or I imagine because it's a 5-man disconnect that this outage could last a while.
Yeah.
Talking about that gank there, I mean, PPD opened with the frostbite, and it sort of just seemed like he ganked himself there, right? Got immediately ruptured, and then blood righted, and then he had to force himself during the rupture, so he didn't live very quickly. But it could net 2 kills for him, so I'm sure he's more than happy about that. The big thing for Immortals, though, is they should be able to keep their gem here, which should help them secure map vision, and then help them, with that map vision, help them land better chronospheres and avoid getting initiated upon.
There is just absolutely no way for Immortals to salvage the situation, even if they all were to reconnect right now. I mean, Faceless Void is all the way over in the mid lane. Febby is, I think, in range to throw out a boat, but the Bloodseeker is probably not tanking. Oh, actually, Zai actually used all his spells already. He tried to heal PPD. He'd actually have enough damage to kill off this Bloodseeker.
There actually is a now that you mention that, because I didn't notice Zai had used spells already, but now that you mention it, there is sort of a scenario where Forev turns around, he lands like a 3-4 Manchu coil. And if he manages to Yule Zai and get away with it, then that Atos never comes out from Pugna. So maybe the Bloodseeker can continue to run. This Bloodseeker is relatively tanky, right? 1.4k HP remaining, 14 armor. Should have decent amounts of move speed.
He has a shrine too to run to.
I imagine the play here for Immortals is just to ditch the Bloodseeker and get the puck out of there with the gem.
It's not really worth fighting over. Again, if Bloodseeker had BKB, that would be an entirely different story. You throw in the boat, you turn around with BKB, but he's out of mana. He's gonna very quickly run out of health. He's been stunned for a little while now, and Macropyre is not perfectly on the ramp from CCNC, but should be good enough. I mean, they should probably just kill off the Lich, so they don't have to worry about Chain Frost, so that's pretty easy. But this is all purely hypothetical, because I don't know what's happening in the Immortal camp.
So I think this kill will actually be quite consequential, just because it's in front of the Roche pit, which means that the Dire can pick up a potential Roche kill, especially with no buyouts on the Lich or the Berserker. So that'll put Immortals behind it, and also it'll put the Dire in a position to siege high ground, since as mentioned earlier, when you have Aegis and or Cheese, it makes you a lot less scared of the Chrono, right? Because the Chrono's sort of a one and done deal, especially on a lineup like Immortals that rely on that Chronosphere picking off a key hero. So the Aegis should put the Dire in a position to high ground, and that might just be what they need in order to get like a bigger advantage in this game, because so far, the net worth advantage for the Dire hasn't really hovered above 6k, and I don't think that's good enough given their lineup, because their lineup doesn't exactly team fight better than Immortals, right? Because Immortals, they have the team fight advantage just by virtue of their heroes being better at it, and the Dire needs something like a Rax or two to really solidify their advantage.
Pycat's, take a look at him. We haven't really talked a ton about this Phantom Lancer. 0 kills, 0 deaths, 6 assists. Pretty standard sit in the back and farm score coming out from him. Is working with those mana burning illusions. Yeah, that Radiance is eventually going to come up, as you said earlier. Actually, Did Bloodseeker... That was still queued up, right? He didn't get Diffusal Blade with Radiance Gold? It's not queued up anymore. And he has a Diffusal Blade.
I don't think he ever had that much gold. He must have bought that Diffusal, right? To help him against the Pugna? Because I think the last time I saw him with that Radiance queued up, he had a substantial amount of gold, like at least 2,000.
Well, either way, is going to have that anti-Pugna tech, but Pycat now going to just straight build bulk. Doesn't have anything else on the Courier, but the Diffusal and the Manta Style, just creating all those illusions. Obviously, that Manta Style a good safety net versus that Puck in his silence and the Bloodseeker silence if that actually lands. That's my alarm. Time to wake up. But yeah, he's starting to get to be like a really serious threat that for Immortal it seems like it's getting to a point where you gotta Chronosphere Pycat. Like, you just can't deal with them otherwise.
Pycat? Well, I actually think the Pugna's the biggest target, because even if you Chronosphere Pycat, there's not enough follow-up. I mean, there is follow-up, but it's not enough. PL's not an easy to hero to take down. 1.9k HP, 24 armor. Does he have normal magic resist? I can't remember. Yeah, he has normal magic resist. So, like, there's no way that Immortals have 2k damage worth of nuke damage. So I think the best, like the ideal team fight for Immortals is if they chrono the Pugna and they take him out immediately. Ideally, you know, Pugna plus another hero, and then they just rupture the Pycat to limit the amount that Pycat can make. Just because I think PL's like the last hero that Immortals. PL is the last hero that Immortals can actually burst down, and they have to basically just leave Pycat for last in fights. But speaking about team fighting, I think the ideal Immortals team fight, or the ideal Dire team fight, is that they prevent the Void from getting its Chronosphere. I mean, I don't know if they have the kind of heroes necessary to burst the Void, but definitely what they can do is they can avoid a scenario where that Chronosphere is perfect. So either the Chronosphere goes on and it only clips one hero, and then that one hero can't really get bursted because the Dire did a good job of zoning out the Lich and the Kunkka, as those are the those are the two main follow-ups. So if they survive the Chrono, I think they're in position in these team fights.
This is actually like pretty close to the ideal from the Dire. Like, sacrifice as Crystal Maiden, that doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. It's kind of just the CM's job. If she could tank a Rupture and pull out a BKB from the Bloodseeker, like, that's already so much more than you would really expect. And yeah, Immortals do have other ways of initiating with the X, with the Puck, with the Chronosphere, obviously, but just trying to take a loss to get a lot more. Also seems perfectly feasible here for the Dire as Immortals just try to disengage away. Anything else coming up here? MP has an Ogre Club, I assume a BKB build-up, so it'll be a lot harder for them to lock him down and kill him off without him getting out that Chrono.
I'm sure that Immortals just disengage here just because their Bloodseeker looks doomed, and the Bloodseeker has already expended all of his spells and items, so there's really no point in fighting this. It does mean that the Dire will get Roshan most likely, so I think Immortals just split off, get the lanes out, make sure that the Dire are never in a position, or ideally that the Dire are never in a position to group up and push that tower, because they do have the Void and the Puck in an area where they can split push.
Well, hopefully Immortals are going to remember to pay their internet. Immortals are, like, they're playing in NA, and they are, like, housed in NA, I'm assuming, so coming from, well, all around the world, really, after this past year of not being on MVP, but certainly it's a far cry from Korean internet.
I mean, it really says something when 5 players from like a team like MVP Phoenix, which had a good showing at TI, it really shows something when they all split off and then they all end up on teams that made it to TI, right? Although they didn't at last TI, they didn't really have a good showing independently. You can just tell that they're all TI caliber players and all capable of playing at a super high level. To see them back is really a pleasure, but to see them disconnected is not.
I mean, I've gone on record of being a huge MVP fanboy, like since the beginning when nobody knew who they were. I was like, yo, MVP Phoenix, that shit's my jam. So you know, I love seeing these guys back again, and I just love seeing teams stay with one another for any reasonable amount of time. Like I think point to Mouse Sports as like the big example. Like their results are doing actually quite well now, but just the fact that they stick with it and like enjoy playing with each other, it's just wholesome Dota, and I love it.
Looks like MP has trickled in. Hopefully the other players will be on the way. But while we have a pause, you made me remember a story that Heen told me. So Heen's the coach for Team Liquid, Korean player. I met with him like maybe a year or two ago, and he was talking about how if Team Zephyr didn't exist, MVP Phoenix wouldn't exist. Because what happened was Zephyr came to Korea and they were like dominating, or they were doing really well in the tournaments, and then the Korean players were like, well, we can't let these outsiders win, right? So then they banded together 5 of their best players, and thus MVP Phoenix was born, and the outsiders were driven out of Korea.
That is the story that Korean parents are going to tell their children about how the foreign invaders came and Korea were able to beat them back. I mean, that, and along with the fact that they've been doing that forever now in StarCraft. Like, the fact that if you're not Korean, you're still referred to as a foreigner. Like even in the European scene, it's like, oh yeah, we got foreigners versus foreigners over here. They have definitely a lot of esports honor to uphold. That's just how it is. I actually did meet Heen as well. It was in MPGL. He was, I think, playing at that point on MVP Hot 6. That was the other team. That was when Jarek was on that team. Yeah. That was actually a team that happened.
So one of their lines are out. That's kind of curious.
That's what you get for rupturing CM. Yeah, I mean that's not wrong. It's like you decide to rupture and BKB for a CM. You're gonna get punished most of the time.
I'm pretty sure the game gets unpaused and then Dooku just like dies immediately by the. I think he's.
Is he in the
Micropire doesn't show up as a status debuff, but I'm almost certain that he's actually getting clipped by it with the veil on him. So, you know, do some quick maths. 140 DPS per second on the Micropire plus I think veil.
Well, just say that's pure damage.
He's dead in around a second. That doesn't really give him much time to cast anything. I don't think he'd cast anything anyway.
Well, he's also impaled for about half the duration, which is 1.4 seconds.
He literally can't do anything. So.
What a way to reconnect back in. It's like, guys, I'm back, and I'm dead. Well,
yeah.
At least now MP could be like, guys, here's what's going on. What should we do? I don't know if there's any like strategizing that can really be involved there. Like again, you mentioned it's like Coil. Try to maybe get the Bloodseeker out, but there's not much discussion here. This looks pretty cut and dry.
Well, MP has given us a time estimate, 5 to 10 minutes, but if my experience with technical issues is worth anything, 5 to 10 minutes is never accurate.
Well, I don't know. Like, I think when they say like sorry issue 1 minute, that's not accurate. Like that's never going to be 1 minute. That's always going to be 3 or 4. And this particular issue is one that they probably just don't have any control over whatsoever. So I mean, in that regard, it's also a little bit inaccurate. But I feel like if you give any sort of estimation other than sorry 1 minute, like I'll trust you a little bit more in your estimation there.
Immortal scrambling to unplug and replug their router at the moment. Resetting their DNS. I'm just kidding. I don't know what they're actually up to. I'm sure they're just their line's down. I'm kind of curious why MP's internet survived.
Yeah, that's weird.
The other ones didn't.
Let's go to the Immortal cam and see what's going on in the Immortal area. We don't have that. If only we did.
Hello, Forev, smiley face. Hi, he says. I mean,
Forev
that's good news.
Also
I
know
the
that
second
he is
place,
safe. Puck's just running the opposite direction. Oh, here we go.
Here we go. Here we
See,
go.
5 to 10 minutes. That was only like 3 minutes, or something.
MP, the time prediction god, maybe, hopefully.
Well, it's like Price is
I don't
Right
want to
rules.
jinx it.
You gotta get the closest without going over.
Yo, these Vul assassins are gonna kick in though. One of them looks like they're gonna attack Zion.
I know. I was zooming in on those guys. They look good now.
Maybe the movement speed debuff will be just what what QO needs to escape. It doesn't look good for him, to be honest. Somehow he needs Dire to suddenly take like 90% of his health, and then the Bloodseeker, you know, the turbos start whizzing, kicks in at 1.2k movement speed, just walks away, you know?
You never know, man. We got some bargaining. You know you're in a bad spot when you start bargaining gems for the Bloodseeker's life, asking for sportsmanship. All right, guys, let's play this game. So Lich is for sure dead. We'll say chat say 1 if you think that Bloodseeker is also dead. Chat say 2 if you think that he won't die. And we'll pull the audience. We're going to take the grand tour of all the game shows. We'll find some way to sell you guys.
Alright, all the
vowels.
players are back. Dubu has said, I won't use my Ultra Chain Frost to control you guys. Let's see if he even has like time to turn around, because...
No, he's dead already. Oh,
he might not be in the Magnifier, actually.
Jakiro's particles and animations are always a little bit weird. Like Ice Path, especially with this cosmetic that he has, is a little bit odd.
I feel like he is clipped because he's already that low. I don't think he would have taken that much damage otherwise. But...
Oh, he was also just disconnected and standing still, so
That's
he
true.
took a blast from Pugna.
All right, we got AFKs. That's PPD. So
before this Lich actually does survive, turns around with the Chain Frost and kills everyone, and Bloodseeker survives and
gives Bloodseeker that frost armor.
Oh yeah. All right, so we gotta wait for the 2-minute delay to kick in. It's always exciting when you get to poll the chat and you're still paused afterwards, so you actually get to see the result. Beg for your life, Dubu. Can I TP out?
No, PBD says scatter in a base, but I'm pretty certain that Immortals, they have to get this mid lane now. The mid lane's kind of pushing into the base. Bottom lane's in a good position, I believe. Bottom lane should push in their favor just because this range creep. I can't really draw the map, can I? This range creep's gonna die to this wave, so bottom lane's in a good position. Top lane's already in a good position, so I think Immortals, they just try to cut their losses here. Probably have to give up this Roche, but if they can create a situation where...
Oh, they are going to do exactly that. Kill 2, and everyone else scatters back to the base. Or unless CCNC is not honorable. No, he didn't have a vision of the Kunkka back there. They'll take the shrine, and it will be the 2 heroes to die.
Okay, so no rush attempt from the Dire, but they do get a shrine. They should get this top 2 too, maybe? No, the backdoor perfect is going to be on. So Immortals are still in it. Really, they just lose 2 heroes. No big objective to be lost. Hopefully they do regain their map control when the Bloodseeker and Lich come back north, because they're going to need to fight their way back into this game. They can't continue to let this Phantom Lancer farm. I think in the early game I kind of mentioned that Pycat was behind, but that is not the situation anymore. You know, he's 3rd highest net worth. He's actually in a position where he can help his team fight immensely, because the enemy team doesn't have any AoE, at least until Bloodseeker picks up this Radiance, if he picks up that Radiance. So
just looking at like the mana burn, like create a couple of dudes, throw them in towards someone like a Faceless Void, like he's already kind of strapped for mana. Just adding a couple of hits with that Diffusal Blade can just destroy MP's contributions further, as he just can't chase anymore, or even go invis.
You know this game can go either way at the moment, but I think the Dire, they win their team fights by picking off one of these heroes early in the team fight, at least, or ideally the Void. And Immortals, they win their team fight by landing a good chrono, or at least catching the Dire out of position, because, you know, in a really drawn out team fight, I think Dire win the fight, just because Pugna and Phantom Lancer and Jakiro, they all have really spammable spells, so they prefer fights where they get to kite the Bloodseeker, the Void, and the Puck.
Yeah, it does seem like for Immortals they gotta get really nice decisive edge after having used the Rupture BKB on the Bloodseeker and the Chronosphere. Afterwards, like, they could still chase with the Bloodseeker, but if the enemies aren't low enough to chase, you don't get the Thirst stacks, then obviously your chase isn't really going to be that effective.
Dire smoked up. Immortals have wards in the jungle, but they don't see the smoke, and they won't predict this coming either, so MP's got to be careful with his positioning. But Dire are going to look for him. No vision from the Dire on the Immortal squad, though, so the Immortals, they scatter to the trees, they start TPing out.
There's a scan, they drop a sentry off the mark on anyone. The person they do scan is Febby, who is in a lot of trouble. He's not dusted, so he actually can glimmer for a couple seconds there. Not like it really would have mattered all that much. So
I think he decided to stick around to see if he could clear another wave of spells, but unfortunately he gets picked off. Not the biggest deal for Immortals, but pretty good pick off for the Dire. That's 40 seconds. They don't have to worry about the Kunkka, but you know, in order for PB squad to win this game, they have to make something much bigger happen, like a Roshan or a big team fight or a Rax. So still, neither team really in a winning position, despite the Dire being 7k net worth ahead.
Kind of sucks for the Dire in the fact that they have a carry who's doing a lot of damage, but is like the worst carry to have versus Roche. So you know, they could liquid fire it, they could slowly right click it down. It's not going to be safe. It's not going to be
coming out
secure.
from Immortals. They're actually going to start squatting on CCC and CCNC in the jungle with these wards. So I think this could be a pretty big pick off. MP is in the oh, they might actually catch Pycat here. They see him. They should know one of these is real.
Oh, they're gonna jump forward. He's gonna use Doppelgang, gets coiled, and with the blood right there, he doesn't really have any answer to this one. He's gonna get shredded by the Chain Frost. Oh my god, that did a lot of damage. And Forev is gonna grab that kill. That is a huge kill. It does cost them a Chain Frost and a coil, but they still have the Chronosphere. They still have that Rupture, they still have the boat, and more importantly perhaps, they have the damage to kill off Roche, whereas the Dire really don't. CCNC can get lifted up first thing. Now here comes the Blood Right. He is going to Yules to dodge that as they force out a buyback. Here on the Pycat, all two heroes though get caught with the Torrent, and now with the jump in from MP, the boat's coming in as well. They're both going to fall in an instant. They're also on top of Zai. Up on the high ground, QO though is not that fast. The heroes on the Dire are pretty darn healthy. Off to the south, Febby is being chased out, but it's more important to watch QO as he gets lanced by Pycat. Silence from the Puck is going to wear off on CCNC. He'll lift up the Bloodseeker, and MP, he doesn't have any mana to actually contribute here, and now being Ethereal is going to roast in the Macro Pyre. My god, that's a lot of magic damage. We'll get both of those cores down, as everyone else from Immortals will slip away. It's going to cost the Dire a buyback on the Jakiro, but to get those two heroes, well worth it. I think bottom lane should be held as well. They'll clean up Roche.
There's a buyout on the Phantom Monster and the Jakiro, which I think is actually big enough for Immortals to feel okay with that. I mean, the thing that Immortals are not okay with is Roshan taken, so it does put Dire in a position to high ground or to make something happen, and I think they have to, otherwise they're in a bit of trouble, because Immortals have shown that they're more than capable of taking good engagements against the Dire lineup. And so, you know, Immortals, I think they're going to look to reset as soon as their heroes are up, and maybe even similar to last game, we might even see Immortals try to fight into this into this Aegis, knowing that the Phantom Lancer and the Jakiro don't have buyout. And you know, I think the Phantom Lancer is the most important hero on the Dire, just because he is the only hero in their lineup that provides physical damage, which is really necessary against Bloodseeker BKB, Void BKB.
Well, there's going to be just a few seconds left, 10 seconds left in fact, until Immortals are back up at full strength. We'll see if they actually do move out. And the Dire already got hit by this play once of the smoke out and look for a fight, despite them having an Aegis. So maybe they're thinking, there's no way that Immortals do that again. And Immortals, of course, they're looking like they kind of want to do it, although QO kind of has bigger plans. Going to sell the Poor Man's Shield, grab that relic. It is so close to Radiance. I don't know how he got all this gold, but he's here now with the Radiance pretty much all locked down. It seems like they'll just play kind of conventional Dota around that Aegis and the Dire. Similarly, we'll just have to wait to group up and wait to find some sort of opening before they make a move with this double life as well. Still, you know, the Aegis is nice, but on the Phantom Lancer, it doesn't really help them push high ground.
it's not a question of like where he got the farm or how he farm. It's more like how his team collectively created the space for all of these cores on Immortals to get farm, right? Because I'm also astounded by how far MP is on the Void and Bloodseekers in general, because I think the thing going for them is their lineup is still really scary in team fighting, right? And I think Dire have respected that a little bit too much, so haven't really been able to shut down this Bloodseeker and the Void at all, and as a result, they're actually quite farmed. They might actually catch the Pugna here.
Oh, MP is gonna ditch the Chronosphere first thing, and it looks like by himself is gonna be able to get this kill. Chain Frost will seal the deal, as MP did get stalled up a little bit, but now they have the second big tool in the Rupture onto Misery. Off to the side though, it's the Puck. He's gonna drop a coil. Looks like it landed on nobody. Well, that's not exactly ideal. Forev will pay for that, and the Bloodseeker did use BKB already. Rum buff coming in with a little bit of help from the Torrent, but he's sitting in the Macro Pyre. He just can't leave. He's not fast enough. Pycat gets a double, and QO spends all his money to get the Radiance. Now is dead with no buyback, nowhere close to buyback. Pycat, CCNC, they're able to do quite a bit of damage to these structures, though the Ice Armor is there. MP gonna start poking away at Pycat. It's still a full minute before he has another Chronosphere. 20 seconds left until a boat comes up, but these illusions will start depleting all of MP's mana. So difficult to play around this. I think they should be able to chip out Rax here, as the Dire just don't have any threats to worry about. It's like the biggest threat is up in 10 seconds with the coil and a boat. Pycat still has a double life, so...
I think Immortals are still going to try to catch this, especially CCC out of position here.
Double Yules, dodging any potential Torrent plays or boat plays. Now the X mark is there. They will not be able to do all that much. And Forev does land a coil onto Pycat for real this time, but a little bit too late to actually save their racks. And again, Pycat has a double life. This is exactly what it's for. He will drop to the Chain Frost. No Chronosphere for another 15, another Yule Scepter. They're just trying to buy some time here. With the X marks and their style of catch, if they had just a little bit more, maybe. But it is going to be, in the end, racks for the Dire.
So a pretty good fight from the Dire there. I mean, it looked pretty bad for them. Pugna got caught out by a Chronosphere, but the Dire were able to sort of catch Immortals after that, and with Bloodseeker's BKB down, he really doesn't have a way out of these fights, especially when he's getting slowed up by Diffusal, by Spirit Lance, by pretty much everything on the Dire lineup. So actually, Immortals, they're actually smoked up on 4 of their heroes. Bloodseeker is pushing in mid. He's got a gem on Puck, so the Dire, they kind of have to watch their positioning here.
Alternatively, PPD, gonna see QO pushing in, and he is, yes, with gem, but also the hero that you kind of want to have break against this smoke if anyone is going to do that. And Immortals, just with this aggressive play style, and they've thrown nothing into that bottom lane defense except for a Chain Frost, which is back up in 10. They'll look for something, can't find really anything. They'll have to teleport back.
Immortals, they look like they're not afraid of it. The thing that gives away their gank off is that no one's pushing out bottom, so I think the Dire are really suspicious of that. As a result, they dodge a smoke gank. Immortals don't get anything out of it. I think Immortals were looking for like sort of a quick smoke gank, catch the Dire when they weren't expecting it. Instead, they waste the smoke, and I think Dire are going to be the ones to make it look. Misery's vendetted in the enemy jungle with a gem. Most certainly Immortals, or most certainly the Dire, they have the natural event. Now they have a wave clearing in. They're 10k net worth ahead. All the waves are in actually, so Immortals, they're fighting an uphill battle. They sort of have to win like 2 team fights in a row now, I think, in order for them to be in a position to end the game.
Oh, MP, the #1 hero that the Dire want to initiate onto and kill if they can, is wandering straight into them. Gem is up on the next assassin. MP is going to remain safe. The tower will fall. Pycat may not have a double life here, but he is going to start running with that heart through Rupture. Takes quite a bit of damage, but Zai is there, the medic. CCNC will use himself, buy himself a couple more seconds. MP still has that Chronosphere. Where is it going to land? It's only onto this one Phantom Lancer. Febby's able to right-click in as well a little bit, but the damage is just going to be enough. And QO still swinging in this fight, still at full HP. They will buy back with Zai, but there's no buyback on Pycat here. As QO's looking for more, Misery will clean up Dubu off to the side. And, well, QO just can't find a target. He'll finally get on top of PPD. but with the buyback of the Pugna, they'll drain out the Bloodseeker from the high ground. MP will finally kill off that bug. They'll set up with the Eul Scepter and the Ice Path. The further chain stun with the Frostbite. Time Walk out is going to get him a lot of HP back, but not quite enough. Blast is not quite on the mark as Forev and Fabian, both not too healthy. They are going to try to save this Faceless Void. Another Time Walk. Oh, he's rooted down thanks to the Frostbite. And they can't get him out of there. They also force the buyback on QO, which is kind of mirrored by the buyback on Zai. But ultimately, that's a 3 for 3. They kill the Phantom Lancer, but Immortals still lose quite a bit there.
If you look at the team fight recap, actually, it's actually still in favor of the Immortals somehow. And I think if they didn't buy out on the Bloodseeker, that'd be a little better. But you know, Immortals, they're not really disappointed with that outcome. They keep themselves in the game. And I think if they keep it up, they can continue to find sort of opportunities to end the game, because this game's not ending. If Immortals win the game, it's not going to be anytime soon, so the longer this game goes, the better for them.
Gotta get that buyback starting to tick down, at least for Forev. He used it quite a while ago. MP also needs to make sure that he's getting these items up, upgrading to Mjolnir. They also need to make sure not to lose QO. Fortunately, there is no way for the Dire right now, or really ever in this game, to cancel a TP through a BKB, so he will be able to slip out of there. He will be able to survive. Dire just making sure that the super creep wave is constantly pushing in. Now QO actually in a little bit of trouble. Over in the mid lane, literally just survived and now is going to die. Oh no, QO too greedy in his efforts of pushing out the waves. That's 100 seconds with no Bloodseeker guaranteed. They need a really good Chronosphere to come back out of this one.
That's a really cool movement from Zai to TP to the mid wave to catch the Bloodseeker there. You know, without BKB, QO really doesn't have an escape mechanism, so the Dire, they find themselves in a position to push. I mean, Bloodseeker's down 80 seconds, no buyout, and they even have an Angst on Misery, so
play that full lurker mode. Febby caught with the Ice Path, and Pycat's damage certainly stacking up onto that Kunkka. They do land a really good Chronosphere on the back with the Chain Frost, but there's so many creeps here. Not sure if it's quite going to do enough. They're trying to focus down onto the Nyx Assassin as well as the Pugna. They'll get the bolt down. PPD not looking too healthy either, but so far no attention has been given towards Pycat. He'll jump in towards MP with the Purge Charge, with the slows. They will be able to lock down and kill off the Faceless Void. Ultimately, that was a decent fight, all things considered, from the Immortal side, but Pycat and CCNC still surviving will mean that this tower is going to take quite a bit of damage. Buyback now from the Faceless Void. He's going to teleport straight into the front lines. Never mind, cancelled. We'll try to stall this up with the orb and just to try to pull off the creep wave, but only two heroes here. They can only buy so much time, as Pycat at a certain point will just go straight in, and look at the damage he's doing. Look at all the mana he's burning. They are going to probably lose 2 racks here. No more fortifications here. Ice Armor has since timed out, and there's no Chronosphere, there's no Coil, there are really no tools here, so they will lose another melee racks. As Immortals, that was actually really good for them, all things considered. That could have been so much worse, but still, this is not looking all that great.
And Dire and, you know, pretty much the winning position right now. In order, you know, they have to get caught several times in a row now, just because they'll have buyouts by the time Immortals are in a position to win the game. So as long as they don't feed and they don't give up this Roshan for free, I think the Dire will probably win the game, or, you know, it's a very, very steep hill for Immortals to climb in order to win this match.
Kunkka has at Shiva's. Not really sure when that happened, but that's a pretty big pickup. Pycat, if he does move in, is going to be spotted by this gem on Forev. Coil is going to land only onto Misery. Damage onto Nyx Assassin is going to stack up with the Rupture and the Blood Right. He'll try to burrow and hide from all this damage, but with MP on him, he will go down. Febby and QO running quickly out of mana. They will pop the BKBs. Now starting to go for Pycat as MP's going to jump in towards CCNC, forcing out the Eul Scepter, but still this Pycat Phantom Lancer is just running rampant. No one's able to do anything about him. MP doesn't have enough mana to cast a Chronosphere. He's still charging in regardless without really that much backup. The Kunkka's living for a very long time thanks to that Shiva's Guard, but the backup has since been taken out. The Faceless Void now in the Macropyre will roast to death. as now he is surrounded. He might be able to jump up to the high ground, but PPD is here with the Frostbite. Oh, he still has a BKB, actually. With level 25 talent picked up, will get very far away, but perhaps not far enough away. Here's the Yule Scepter. There's nothing to interrupt that Ice Path, and they will drain out to the Faceless Void. He's down for 2 minutes. Dubu as well, not looking too hot, has got to run to the north. That is not a direction where he's actually going to be safe, but not very useful to his team. Puck outside the base now, does have a coil, is going to dodge the Impale. Bloodright is up. They will start spamming that out, but it is not quite talented level 25, so still quite the cooldown on that. Cheese up on the Bloodseeker, but he's got Pycat to worry about right on top of him. The Radiance is great and everything, but still this Phantom Lancer is running around and he is unstoppable. Mid-racks now completely down, looking for top. No Faceless Void for 80 seconds. No Rupture right now, no Chain Frost. And they'll have a Chain Frost soon, no Coil, and they might just lose QO with the Drain and the Ice Path. And Swarmed in Smurfs, he's gonna go down. QO calls it, GG. As Dire are gonna force a Game 3.
Yep, and you know, compared to Game 1, the Dire, PPD drafted a much better lineup when it came to the early game, so they were actually able to fight into the normally aggressive lineup of Immortals, and actually a couple of quick counter ganks and ganks in the Bloodseeker sort of slowed down Kyo's item progression enough that the Dire were able to just get a very substantial lead early on in the game, and they just rode that lead all the way until the end when, you know, they capitalized on a couple of mistakes coming up from Immortals, and they take a victory in 45 minutes.
Really like that Crystal Maiden pick for the Dire, that mana giving them that early game pressure edge. And Immortals, yeah, they fought back decently, all things considered, but ultimately bound by those cooldowns, can't really do all that much up against this super consistent nature of the Dire. Guys, Game 3 is going to be on the way shortly, and if Game 1 and 2 are an indication, the Game 3 should be quite a good one. I'm Mike Lewis, I've been joined by Franz. You can follow us on Twitter, upper right-hand corner of your screen. Those are our handles. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back for Game 3.